In the late 90s, Naughty Dog was a developer known for high-quality, technically impressive, and fun games. Crash Bandicoot was a series of linear 3D platformers with fast, snappy gameplay that was easy to understand and extremely engaging. These games were the face of the PlayStation for a bit. It's easy to see why Naughty Dog decided to make these games from a marketing standpoint. The 90s were the age of the mascot platformer. If you wanted to make it big, you had to pick a random animal, draw something that doesn't resemble it in the slightest, and give it skate gear or some shit. At least that's what a good chunk of game developers used to think. Naturally, this led to 6 billion mediocre mascot platformer games no one gave, gives, or ever will give a shit about. But Naughty Dog had something other developers didn't. They were technical wizards. Crash Bandicoot was miles ahead of much of the competition in technical terms, especially when it came to its visuals. When the PlayStation 2 rolled around, they tried the same strategy again. A game that was very much in line with the competition in terms of what it offered when it came to gameplay, but way ahead in terms of technology. That being said, the 3D platformer was clearly no longer the dominant force that it used to be by the early 2000s. Jak and Daxter was an impressive game, but it wasn't the right game at the right time. Their technical wizardry wasn't enough by itself. Naughty Dog would have to change their approach if they wanted to keep up. Whoa, Jak 1 sure was fun. I can't wait to play yet another wholesome early 2000s 3D platformer collectathon. It's gonna be fun for the whole fucking family.
I'm gonna kill!
Well, anyway, Jak 2 starts looking pretty normal. The cast from the first game is all back. Jak the tall ugly elf with the green hair, Kira the mechanic girl, same as the old green sage, and Daxter the former ugly elf now promoted to rat. They're fucking around with this ancient artifact car thing, and they all got a bit of a redesign. I gotta say I'm not a fan of what they did to Kira specifically. Seriously, it looks like something's wrong with their lips. Anyway, things go horribly wrong and a portal opens up, unleashing a bunch of monsters that are clearly evil because they're purple. Everyone gets sucked into the portal and...
I want on this thing! Find yourself, Jak!
Okay, I swear, that's the last time I ever touch any stupid precursor crap!
Whoa. Did Daxter just say a bad word? I must have misheard. This is a silly little game for toddlers, isn't it? Jak gets the butt of a gun to the face and time skip. Oh boy, I've seen enough shitty mid-2000s shonen anime to know where this is going.
Dark eco injection cycle complete. Bio readings nominal and unchanged.
Nothing. I was informed that this one might be different.
He is surprisingly resistant to your experiments, Baron Praxis. I fear the Dark Warrior program has failed.
You should at least be dead with all the dark eco I pumped into you.
What the fuck? What is this? Daxter is going to be useful? This game is full of surprises.
Jak, it's me, Daxter! That's a fine hello. I've been crawling around in this place, risking my tail, literally, to save you. I've been looking for you for 2 years! Say something! Just this once!
I'm gonna kill Praxis!
What the fuck? Oh my god, no, quick, little Timmy, close your eyes. No, no, drop that knife. Oh no, what a disaster. Now little Cindy is performing satanic rituals in the backyard. What have you done, Naughty Dog? What have you done? In all seriousness, talk about whiplash. I'm sure this is nothing new for anyone who's familiar with the Jak series, but I wasn't up until like 3 months ago when I played the original Jak and Daxter on my journey to find out how Naughty Dog ended up sucking so much ass. You should go watch that video, by the way. Jak 2 is a bit of a tonal shift to say the least, and I legitimately wasn't expecting it. Well, to start things off, Jak can now become Dark Jak to make things even more stereotypically edgy. He also has a goatee now. I guess these things were cool in the 2000s. There's not much to this starting area. We're supposed to use it to familiarize ourselves with the controls, which for now are very similar to the first game. Jak can jump, double jump, spin, punch, roll and then jump, which is pretty good. Nothing you wouldn't expect from this type of game. Pretty impressive how Jak apparently spent the last 2 years strapped to a table and can still jump like 10 feet into the air. We're soon introduced to one of the main enemy types we'll be fighting in the game, the Crimson Guards. with a K, for cool. I like this area, it's a pretty fun and well contextualized linear platforming level with platforming in which you jump on stuff. Works well for introducing mechanics and also really sells the idea of escaping a high security prison. And escape the high security prison we do. We're outside now, in a slum. And there's this old guy and...
Yes, my name is Core. May I help?
You look like a reasonably smart man. I want information. Where the hell am I?
What the fuck? Dude, JAK is a fucking asshole. You could argue 2 years strapped to a table changes a person, and I do commend the writers for trying to explain the change in attitude, as well as the fact that he is no longer a silent protagonist, but this might as well not even be the same character. Having JAK's first words after presumably being a carefree mute for his entire life be, "I'm going to kill Praxis," was surreal. I can only imagine what someone playing this for the first time back when it came out in 2003 would have thought of this. Well, I guess JAK is an edgelord now, and not a bit of an edgelord, he is legitimately edgy. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I might have cringed at this 10 years ago, but nowadays, I really appreciate the balls it takes to turn this guy into an edgy guerrilla fighter with a goatee and who talks about killing people with a raspy voice simply because that's the direction you decided to take the game. Seriously, imagine if Rare decided to turn Banjo into a bounty hunter with a mechanical arm who goes around shooting people with machine guns. It's the dumbest idea ever, but they stuck with it, kept a straight face and made it work. I do sincerely admire them for that, which is not to say I don't find it hilarious. Anyway, the old man tells JAK this is Haven City and it's ruled by Baron Praxis, the guy who imprisoned him in the first place. He is an asshole and we're supposed to hate him. Just as the exposition is delivered, a bunch of guards show up and announce they'll be summarily executing everyone in the premises, which sounds very reasonable. As we beat him up, JAK transforms into Dark JAK. Let's talk about this mechanic, is what I would say if I had anything to say about it. This will be one of like maybe 3 times I use this form in the game, and it's only because it's mandatory. JAK gets stronger and takes less damage, and I'm pretty sure there's a screen wipe here somewhere, but the form will become obsolete almost immediately for reasons we'll get to in a moment. For now, enjoy the edge. The old man, Core, decides to point to the little boy next to him and go, "Oh, this child is important, pay attention to him," for no apparent reason. Be sure to pretend to be surprised when he turns out to be younger JAK thanks to some time-traveling shenanigans. He then talks about an underground resistance fighting the Baron and points us in their direction. This is when we get to see how JAK 2 is structured. An icon on the minimap we have to get to. A huge city we can roam. We can beat up random civilians and the police will come after us. I wonder what game was extremely fucking popular around the time JAK 2 came out that works like this. Yeah, this game is trying to be GTA for preteens whose parents wouldn't let them play M-rated games back in the day. I'm 100% sure this is how the game was pitched. Not to say JAK 2 is just a GTA clone with no blood and less swearing, but it is a clear inspiration. We'll get back to this, but for now let's just follow the icon like good little modern gamer drones.
We're looking for a guy named Torn. Core sent us. Are you Torn?
Maybe this guy's a mute, like you used to be.
New faces make me nervous. Word is you're out to join the fight for the city. You know, picking the wrong side could be unhealthy.
Resistance Man also sounds like Cold Steel the Hedgehog and tells us to go grab some flag to prove we're good enough to join him. I'm really good at driving in this game. This is Dead Town, one of the levels outside the city. In JAK 2 we often have a few missions available at a time. The leader take place in Haven City or in one of these levels. Each of them is used a few times with slightly different layouts and different objectives. Those can only be completed when the right mission is active. Completing every available mission advances the story. For this mission we have to beat up a few frogs and climb up this tower in the middle of the level, in what is probably the most predictable 3D platforming mission structure ever. It's basically every Super Mario 64 level. A few sections of the floor crumble as we run past them, and these bars we have to swing on are back from the first game. I hate them. We reach the top soon enough and...
I guess you're guys are in.
Yeah, if there is no flag we have to reach for each level, there's no Power Star or Jiggy equivalent. This is Jak 2 cleverly playing with our expectations to tell us it's not, in fact, a 3D platformer collectathon game that's gonna be fun for the whole family. I love how it deliberately makes this mission as generic as possible, just to subvert our expectations in the end and get the point across. The eggs from the first game are back, but while in that game they were everywhere, here they're quite rare and sort of hidden for the most part. They're the main reward for exploration, and the game makes absolutely no effort whatsoever to try to get us to actually go after them, so I won't. They basically unlock cheats and have no bearing on actual progression. They're kind of fun to look for, but are in no way comparable to power cells in the first game. Jak 2 still has the basic controls and movement of a 3D collectathon platformer like its predecessor, but it uses them to create something completely different. Now that we've proven ourselves to the Resistance, we can go get more missions from them. So the good Baron has connected his toilet directly to the city's water system, so the Resistance has to literally eat his shit. We have to go do some terrorist plumbing to fix that. This next mission takes place at the pumping station. It's not terribly interesting. We just punch some enemies, jump on a few pistons. It's very basic platforming business with some mediocre beat 'em up style combat mixed in. These guys are the metalheads, by the way. They're monsters who want to kill everybody and who are everywhere outside the city walls. They're the things that were coming out of the portal in the intro. Eventually we find this valve that fixes everything. Okay, that was kind of funny.
The slum's water is back on. I'd love to see the heads roll when the Baron finds out.
Yeah, I'm sure he's losing lots of sleep over this armpit of the city.
Dude, I can barely differentiate between Jak's edgy raspy voice and the two-faced guy's edgy raspy voice. Next we're supposed to blow up some ammo depot. It's a linear indoors mission. Once we get there, we're immediately chased by this tank. We're supposed to dodge its fire while platforming and avoiding mounted machine guns. It's pretty intense actually. And this is only like the third level. I really do hate these swinging bars though. I did eventually get good at using them, but as you can clearly see, I was still shit at this point. We eventually reach a large room with rotating sets of platforms, and we have to destroy these light bulbs in order to keep going. And after that, the level transitions away from the chase sequence into a more platforming heavy section that's pretty fun and atmospheric. Jak finds a security card that opens up more of the city, and we see a cutscene in which Crimson guards are seen cooperating with the metalheads. Then the tank shows up again and we have to bait it into blowing up the ammunition stashed in this room. One epic slow motion explosion and that's it. Good level. A little bit of everything. It really shows off what Jak 2 is trying to accomplish with its mix of combat, platforming, storytelling, and unique set pieces. I think these types of one-off linear platforming levels are where Jak 2 is at its best. It's too bad really that they're not the most common type by a long shot, as we'll see. They mostly serve as transitional levels between story arcs. Speaking of which, the next mission will take us out of the slums and to the opposite side of the city. We're supposed to deliver some eco, that's magic fuel or whatever the writers needed to be for those of you unfamiliar with Jak 1, to a supplier of the Resistance in some shady saloon. We just have to make it there without blowing up the shitty scooter, which is totally not a problem for me. Once we make it to the industrial district that just opened up thanks to the card key we got, the guards are alerted and start shooting at us, but it's not too bad. Are people going to be as mad at me for commenting on this fine gentleman's weight as they are when I say retarded? Well, I'll just have to live with it. It's actually kind of impressive just how disgusting they managed to make this guy, Crew. I'm not even joking, it's genuinely pretty good character design. Feels like I'm watching my 600-pound life. You can hear the fat in his voice.
And what we have here, the Shadow's mascot of the month. Ooh, soft.
It's like that Nintendo Shitcube video from 30 years ago.
And this is what I like to call the Nintendo Shitcube.
Oh shit, it's a fucking gun. Why did Shadow the Hedgehog get so much shit for this, but JAK 2 gets a free pass? Sure, there's an abyss of difference in the quality of these two games, but it's not like people were making fun of Shadow just for being a bad game. Maybe that's the difference that 2 years make. Anyway, JAK 2 is a mature, edgy game for grown-up gamers such as myself, and so, of course, it needs guns and shooting and shit. It's not a baby game for babies who can't shoot guns. It's a game for manly men like me. Grown-up 13-year-old testosterone-filled adults in 2003 don't want to collect colorful shit in cartoon worlds. They want to murder people. Again, I think this is hilarious, but it's not like I think it's bad. It sure beats overly self-aware millennial writing slob. The sincere edginess is a breath of fresh air in 2026. Anyway, this is where JAK 2 really shows what kind of game it really is. It's not just a platformer, it's also kind of a run-and-gun type shooter game. The shooting really is a central mechanic here. The next mission is basically a tutorial for it. It's a shooting gallery, kind of boring but effective in getting the player accustomed to this new gameplay style. We could play this again and go for a high score, but well, what's the first thing to do when you get a gun in a video game? Why, try to shoot random civilians, of course. But there's no way that... Dude, how do they get away with this shit? JAK's a complete psycho, what the fuck? This is awesome fucking based. Is it just me, or does this look exactly like this cutscene from Zelda CDI? Alright, next we're going back to the area where we just did some plumbing a couple missions ago. We're supposed to babysit this Sig guy while he charges his big ray gun to blow up some special metal heads. Yeah, it's an escort mission. Everybody loves these. To be fair, Sig's not too slow and can sort of fend for himself for the most part, so it's not that bad. Gee, this Sig is a swell guy. I sure hope nothing bad happens to him.
You boys are turning out to be quite useful, eh? I have another task for you. The sewers used to be a fabulous smuggling route for me before the Baron installed security devices.
And before those late-night snack runs kept you from fitting out the front door.
Okay, even they're doing it, so I guess I'm home free. Turns out the Baron has a deal with the Metalheads where he supplies them with eco, and in turn they fuck up the city just enough to justify his continued rule. Next mission takes place in the sewers. While we drive there, let's talk about how the city's laid out. While I do admire the game for committing so strongly to such a deviation from the first game, I do wish the city area was built more around platforming and less around vehicles, mostly because they kind of suck. But also because I feel the whole place is underutilized. There is very little exploration to be done in the city. JAK 2 is often compared to GTA, but I feel like a more apt comparison would be to another attempt at a GTA clone, The Simpsons Hit and Run. If you're not familiar with it, it's a game where you talk to people and complete driving missions in a series of semi-open levels. It's supposed to be GTA with a Simpsons skin, but while GTA has truly open worlds, Hit and Run's levels are basically all donuts. One main path that loops around on itself, with a few shortcuts in hidden areas. I'd struggle to call Haven City in JAK 2 truly open. It's more like a single path that's very snake-like. Even when we unlock more districts, everything is on a grid, and each district has one simple connection with each neighbor. There are no city blocks for the most part, just impenetrable walls surrounding the main roads. Going from point A to point B feels like going through the motions every time. There's no decision making and no player expression. Even if the map was more complex, there's nothing to do in the city beyond chasing waypoints from mission to mission. This is where I believe more platforming would have helped. Hiding collectibles in small hidden areas requiring platforming over the rooftops or infrastructure to get to would have made the world a lot more interesting, fun to explore and believable. As it stands, this whole aspect of the game feels like little more than padding. Well, back to the mission. Our objective here at the sewers is to blow up a few turrets so crew can go back to using this place as a smuggling route. Dodging the turret fire is a matter of jumping in the right rhythm. It's not too hard. I like this part where we get to a dark room full of metal heads, step on a switch that turns on the light, and they all attack us. This whole level is really atmospheric actually. JAK 2 does that thing where the level loops on itself so that the end of it is usually near the entrance, and that's always cool, except in Skyrim where it feels forced and shit every time. Crew rewards us with a new weapon. This one's more like a generic rifle that can deal with enemies at longer range, as opposed to the shotgun that's pretty much worthless if we're trying to shoot anything that's more than a couple of feet away. Hey, if you're using a PS4 controller and playing the OpenGo PC port, the lights change to match the color of the weapon you're using. Neat. Anyway, shooting range, who cares? At this point, we actually have 3 missions to choose from. The game never opens up more than this, but it's kinda cool that it's not entirely linear. The first one we'll do involves driving all the way to some racing track in 3 minutes to prove how fast we are. We can access a new district now, by the way. I'm terrible at driving in this game, holy shit. Well, we can take the opportunity to talk about the driving. It's very awkward and the handling is terrible, but it varies a lot from vehicle to vehicle. We can steal basically any car we see out in the city, and the game makes no attempt whatsoever to justify this. JAK is just going around committing Grand Theft Auto. No one calls him out or even acknowledges this, so I assume the resistance is in on it. Anyway, JAK being an asshole criminal aside, there are basically 2 main types of vehicles, 2-seaters and bikes. Bikes are fast but basically useless because they'll blow up if someone sneezes in their general direction. The 2-seaters can take a bit more of a beating, but they're a lot slower. Well, you know how the story of the tortoise and a hare goes. Slow and not dead wins or whatever. Just take the large ones, believe me. Regardless of which type of vehicle we're piloting, we can switch between hovering near the ground with all the defenseless pedestrians so JAK can run them over in his heroic quest to rid the city of those evil civilians, or higher up with all the other vehicles that are all driven by old women who refuse to go any faster than 10 miles per hour, so we can hit all of them and explode before we make it to whatever it is that the game wants us to go. Seems like the choice is obvious, right? Kill all those evil fascist women and children. The problem is, this is trying to copy GTA, so if we kill too many civilians, the Crimson Guards will show up and start shooting us. The ideal way to go about it is by switching between the 2 attitudes on the fly to avoid as many obstacles as possible. And while that does feel pretty rewarding, the less than tight handling is sure to cause a few unfortunate encounters between our car and the one Crimson Guard that happens to be walking in the middle of the road, which causes about 1 trillion more to spawn and pursue us relentlessly until we're dead. It is possible to lose them by not being seen by one for a while, but getting to a situation where that's possible feels random because guards keep spawning right in front of us. Anyway, here's a montage of me sucking ass at this. Let's move on.
Look, I don't mean to be rude. You did get here fast, but I'm not interested in any new drivers right now, and I've got work to do.
Gee, I wonder who this could be.
But you could fly over it if you had a zoomer equipped with a heat shield.
JAK seems interested. Anyway, Totally Not Kira tells us to go play around with her skateboard because the game wasn't copying enough popular games from the early 2000s. I fully expected to hate the skateboard, but it's actually kind of fun. I don't really know how it works, but it's fun. The only move that matters is this jumping 360 that's supposed to give JAK a speed boost, but that only works half the time. Either way, it's better than walking and better than driving, and from now on we can use it pretty much anywhere in the game, and it's surprisingly well implemented. I just wish it was a bit faster. None of these idiots can recognize each other's voices despite having been raised together. I can understand Kira not recognizing JAK's considering he just spoke his first words 2 hours ago, but come on. Okay, whatever, I'll roll with it. Anyway, we need to join the mysterious woman's racing team because the racing champion gets to, and get this, toward the Baron's palace. That's not contrived at all, sounds perfectly reasonable. I can't think of any reasons why an evil dictator wouldn't let some random racing pilot toward his house while there's an active terrorist group trying to undermine his rule. This woman, let's call her Shira, tells us to go find an elevator that can take us up to the palace, but before that we'll have to restore power to it. For now, let's go back to Tiny's saloon and get another mission.
Hey, Sugar Plum. You new here? Well, what you got that's, hot? And, wait, I've seen you before. You're with the Underground.
Shh! I'm Tess. Torn sent me to spy on Crew. Play along, and I may be able to get my hands on a few of Crew's secrets.
Man, how do they keep getting away with it? I'm still shocked by all the crude humor they managed to shove in here. Also, if you remember, I absolutely hated Dexter in the first game. I couldn't stand him. And now, he's actually fucking based. Maybe it's the darker setting, but he's a lot less annoying here. He's still prone to talking a big game when he clearly can't back it up. But to be fair, he did rescue JAK right at the very beginning, and he's useful in quite a few places throughout the story, as we'll see. His banter with the other characters is also a lot funnier, and he even gets a cheerleader in the form of Blondie over here. It's kind of funny how this chick actually falls for his bullshit. Either that or she's a furry. Anyway, you won't catch me shitting on him anymore. I like Jak 2's Dexter. Now we have to complete a driving mission, and it's pretty fucking annoying. The guards are permanently aggressive and do not let up. Trust me, it's best to ditch the bike right away, it won't last 10 seconds. We got an upgrade for the shotgun for completing it. Next we talk to What's-His-Face and get a new mission from the brave freedom fighters down at the Resistance headquarters.
Hey, tattooed wonder. How come we get all the crappy missions?
Because I don't like you.
Hey, don't you dare messing with Dexter, fuckface. We're supposed to rescue some scientists from the strip mine, another new level we'll revisit a few times. There's not much to it, just shooting a bunch of mosquitoes and riding these slow moving platforms for a while. The guys hold up inside some shack and almost blows Dexter's head off. They leave through a portal that was right next to the guy. What the fuck do you even come all the way here for?
One of my old guard comrades was sent to the pumping station. There's been no word from the patrol. And after what you guys ran into out there, I'm afraid she may need some help.
Did you say she?
Why are they so horny in this game? Well, you heard the man, back to the pumping station for another escort mission. Well, it's more of a survive the wave sort of deal. We have to work our way to the top of the level this time around before anything interesting happens.
Yeah, what the heck are we doing, risking our lives to rescue some old Crimson God hag anyway? She's probably got more facial hair than me.
Who the hell are you two?
Man, who could have predicted that Naughty Dog would be responsible for this 20-something years later? This is Ashlyn, and she's a double agent in the Crimson Guards. We have to keep the metalheads from killing her, and these mantis-looking ones can take 1 trillion rifle rounds to the face before they die. I kept running out of ammo here, and then I accidentally shot Miss Pansy Strings, and she kills me while making fun of my penis size. How do they keep getting away with this? This took me longer than I care to admit. Man, this is getting hard. This one was not supposed to be a dick joke.
Watching me take care of those metalheads was, pretty exciting. Wasn't it, Sugar? Hey! Sweet Stripes! Give me them digits so I can look you up sometime! We'll party hard! Big city style!
Tell Torn Baron Praxis is planning something big. I think it has to do with that symbol.
Oh yeah, that's his name, Torn. Thanks. She tells us about some old lady we should talk to, gives us a new card key, and that's it. We have access to this Chinatown looking place now, and for some reason vehicles are restricted to this single highway in this area with no possibility to change altitude, which makes them basically useless if you don't want to just wait in traffic. The old lady, Onan, who we were told to speak to, talks through this monkey macaw thing. She wants us to go collect 3 artifacts from some ancient ruin outside the city. To get there, we have to go through the farming sector, and it's pretty cool how they actually thought about how the city would feed its citizens. JAK 1 had some pretty good attention to detail, and JAK 2 retains that. The level itself is over a cliff overlooking the city, and the view is great. The game really succeeds in creating a believable world. I like how the area itself looks, especially at night. The water glows sort of unnaturally, it doesn't make much sense, but it looks good. Reminds me of Warcraft 3, weird comparison I know, but I love the way that game looks. We're supposed to take free trials here for the free artifacts the old lady's monkey talked about, focusing on platforming, combat, and puzzling.
Shoot the platform, Jack.
Thanks, Dexter. You're my greatest ally. For the first artifact, we have to first defeat this really big and tanky metalhead. The fight itself is honestly really boring once you know what to do. Beta charge attack, move out of the way, hit it once or twice, repeat 1,000,000 times. Once it's dead, we can ground pound a button to make a platform appear, which we can use to keep going. The level also introduces these shield enemies lifted straight from Halo. Beta volley, dodge, and shoot while they recover. This route takes us way high up the mountain, and it looks really beautiful here. We find the first artifact in a structure near the summit. From there, we can take a conveniently placed floating platform back to the starting area and get right to the second mission. This one is very platforming focused, but it starts with another fight with the bow metalhead. Then we get to the main part, a really annoying climb over the cliffside with boulders rolling down seemingly randomly. I'm pretty sure this is entirely physics based, and so it's very unpredictable. You end up just having to hope you get lucky to make it through. Just tank as much damage as you can. The edges of the platforms feel kinda glitchy in this area to make matters worse. JAK refuses to grab onto them half the time. It's not terribly difficult, but it feels pretty badly implemented and leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. After shooting a few more upside down platforms, we make it to the second artifact.
I bet that's the prize. They won't miss that one tiny gear. Like candy from a baby.
Which is fine by me.
Okay, next is box puzzle time. Again, took me longer than I care to admit to figure out what to do with these. Turns out you punch them and the box unfolds in that direction, creating a platform where it used to be. To be fair, figuring this one out requires a very high IQ. The game just fails to properly convey that you can't stand in the boxes and jump from one to the other. It's an okay puzzle. Reminds me of something out of Mario Galaxy. Another boring bullfight later, and here's the final thingy. The game then tells us to fuck around while the hag thinks, and that's our cue to go do all the other quests we have available until we hit the right flags to advance the story. Well, for now we have this pretty inconsequential mission where we go back to the strip mine and shoot some metalhead eggs with the turret, and a driving mission where we blow up a bunch of turrets, and we can now go take that elevator and infiltrate the palace in what is probably my favorite mission in the entire game. The palace itself rests on top of a tower and is surrounded by giant cables that connect it to other points in the city. We'll have to cross one of these in this level. The entire city is visible below as well as other landmarks. It's a really great set piece. This place reminds me of somewhere. The cable is a huge linear obstacle course, and I don't know, it feels like Naughty Dog might have had some prior experience with levels like this. We have to occasionally look for alternative paths off to the side as the main section of the cable is not always traversable. There are turrets placed along it and we have to take cover to avoid them. Rotating platforms require good timing, as do electrical fences. All of this is fine, but what really makes this such a memorable level is the setting. The sense of scale here is amazing. The high-tech fortress aesthetic and the city lights below really remind me of Sanctuary Fortress from Metroid Prime 2. Easily the best level from the Prime trilogy, don't even try to argue with me. I just love this part of the game. Once we reach the palace and climb a few platforms over the wall, we reach a sunroof and see a cutscene.
I've told you I will have more eco by week's end. We'll transport it directly to your nest, as promised.
A deal is of no value if you can't deliver, my dear Baron.
He's toying with us! Let me lead an assault on the nest before it's too late! I can take him!
Who are you again? So Penny Strings is the Baron's daughter, and the Baron is biding his time but plans to ultimately destroy the metalheads. He's also looking for some tomb. That'll probably be important later. As we take a stroll on the roof, our favorite democratically elected leader soon shows up in a flying mech and we'll have to fight him. Yes, this game has boss fights, and I'm happy to announce they're a lot better than the ones from the first game. They kinda go back to the Crash Bandicoot school of boss fight design here, where bosses have 3 phases, each more complex than the last. The main difference is that since JAK 2 is a mature shooter game for mature gamers such as myself, instead of losing a bar of health for each hit, the bars deplete gradually as the boss takes damage. This ultimately makes the fights more dynamic as the hitboxes are constantly exposed. Bosses no longer have to be designed around obvious glowing weak spots that show up after the player manages to dodge for an arbitrary amount of time. For this one specifically, we have to dodge volleys of fire and keep shooting praxis, preferably with the rifle. Ammo management also comes into play. It mostly comes down to learning when it's safe to shoot and not getting greedy. For the first phase, Praxis uses a machine gun. For the second, he shoots out missiles that are a lot easier to dodge as long as we keep moving. For the third, he sends out tornadoes, but as long as we keep to a different level from him, they can't reach us. His charge attack here is more dangerous and can be difficult to dodge. Good fight, I had fun. The Baron goes away and we're just allowed to leave the palace with absolutely no resistance. Okay. Butch? Hank? I forgot his name again, but he's pissed. He wants us to go shuttle some of his resistance friends around because the guards are on high alert after we almost killed their glorious benevolent leader. This is when the driving mission starts to get absolutely fucking infuriating. We need to park on these lights and wait for the guys to jump into the car, but their AI is brain dead. The pathing is absolutely atrocious. Once we pick the first one up, the guards are alerted and they're absolutely relentless as always. If our car blows up with one of the resistance members inside, we have to find another one and come pick the fuckface back up exactly where he was when he did. And I mean exactly. Well, at least that doesn't cause the mission to fail. The guards absolutely destroying JAK as we desperately try to find a new vehicle, however, does. Also, the resistance members can't swim. There are 4 of these guys, the mission is hellish. Brad gives us a new gun and tells us to go defend some sacred site in Dead Town from metalheads. This is the Vulcan, a machine gun. It's fun to use and pretty powerful. It's great at stun locking enemies, but it burns through ammunition really fast. This one is a very combat heavy mission, clearly inviting us to try out the new weapon. It's pretty challenging and has great enemy variety. The constant shifting between long and short ranged enemies requires us to change weapons on the fly and make good use of cover. JAK 2's combat is deceptive deep, and the fact that the game is not afraid to up the difficulty ensures the player actually has to engage with its mechanics, except for Dark JAK.
Is that? No, it couldn't be. That's not...
Samos's hut.
But what? How? When? Where? Why?
We're in the future, Dax. This horrible place is our world.
So yeah, that's the big twist. It's fucking Planet of the Apes. Now, I do actually think this is kinda cool. I'm sure I would have found it cooler if the fucking wiki didn't spoil it for me when I was doing research for my JAK 1 video, the motherfuckers. What's even cooler is the fact that if you were paying attention, you could have come to this conclusion by yourself. So all this time we were helping the Resistance kill hundreds of civilians because we were told by Old Core that we should talk to their leader. And now Brad is going to introduce us to him, and it's same as the green wizard guy from the first game, but it looks a bit different, less cranky. He also doesn't know who JAK and Dexter are for some reason. It tells us to go get rid of a few metalhead scouts in the forest. New area, by the way. Looks pretty cool and was clearly designed with a hoverboard in mind. In fact, we need to use the hoverboard here to catch up to these guys. They're pretty slippery though. We need to really get familiar with the layout of the area and get good with the board. I won't say it's terribly exciting, but this is basically a skill check. The game expects us to know how to properly use this mechanic moving forward, and it's going to force us to learn. This is a bottleneck in the progression, so we might as well. From here, the game opens up a bit again. It branches out into 3 mission paths at this point, and we'll have to complete all of them before we can move on. First, we go to the Resistance headquarters again. Ammo crates. These weren't here before. This is going to suck, isn't it? Samus wants us to take the kid who's totally not jacked at core at the power station because he's too busy to look after him. He thinks he might be the real heir to the city throne. Now wouldn't that be surprising? It's both an escort mission and a driving mission, hooray. The guards are pissed from the get-go this time, and if the car blows up, it's over. But before we worry about that, we have to get to it. I praise the combat in this game, but I'll say it works a whole lot better in the actual levels that are designed around it, rather than the open streets of the city where guards spawn infinitely from all directions and where there's no cover. Then we get to the car and every guard in the city is shooting at us with pinpoint accuracy. We have to keep going up and down and try to dodge as many bullets as we can, dodge incoming traffic, and avoid the turrets placed at strategic points. Those ammunition crates were not enough to replace all the ammo I was wasting, and I died so much in this mission that I started to run out. I would like to say this one was a rewarding challenge, but it really wasn't. Core then tells us to go blow up a dig site. We do that by cutting ropes that are holding the structure by skating over the tether points. The guards here are a huge pain. These guys have grenade launchers now, and I feel the developers went a little overboard with their range and with the sheer quantity of them. This mission made me rage, honestly. While I do think the grenades are kind of bullshit, I like how the mission forces us to use all of JAK's moveset. We have to use the hoverboard to navigate this fairly large and open area, and make effective use of both melee and all of our different guns depending on range and the terrain. I think it's time we talk about this. There are 2 things JAK 2 is known for from what I've seen. The first is the unexpected edge, but we've been through that. The second is the difficulty. JAK 2 is not an easy game. Now, it's not a game most people won't be able to complete with a little persistence, but it's not a walk in the park. You will fail missions over and over again your first time through. You will have to think of and refine strategies to beat the more challenging stages, and you will have to make good use of the resources that the game makes available. From JAK's moveset to the layout of the levels themselves, and I think the game's better for it. Look, I'm not the type who thinks hard equals good or every game should be challenging, but there are advantages to a higher level of difficulty. The most obvious one is forcing the player to really engage with the game. Another is demanding attention from the player. This has a side effect of increasing immersion. A potentially forgettable mission of go into large rooms, shoot bad guys, interact with things, turns into something you really have to think about, and this helps a lot with making it memorable. Before I played this game, I fully expected to brute force my way through it and never look back, as I have many other platformers. At that point, only an interesting story or setting would really have been able to set it apart. This is more or less what happened with my playthrough of JAK 1. I thought it was a good game, but it didn't really stick with me. The fact that JAK 2 demands so much of my attention makes even mechanics that I find frustrating, such as the driving, ultimately entertaining. The fact that enemies are aggressive and capable also forces us to be aware of our surroundings, and that in turn makes us remember those environments. We have to learn, not simply adapt. Not only that, the higher difficulty promotes this very interesting flow state where all these different systems that at first glance seem tacked on and unrelated to one another actually interact between themselves. Comboing melee attacks with guns, switching depending on the enemy type, taking out the hoverboard to tackle obstacles and going back to deal with more enemies. JAK 2 is actually a lot deeper than I expected. and I would have never noticed that if the game didn't force me to engage beyond a surface level. All of that is to say that the first dig site mission is frustrating and annoying, but it did stick with me, and it did feel good to beat. The guards can shove those grenade launchers up their asses though, fuck them. Let's knock a couple of the more inconsequential missions out of the way. First, there's one in the port area where we have to use the hoverboard to destroy some cargo from the Crimson Guards while avoiding mines. Then there's this one by Ashland that's so important I forgot to include it on the script. Then Crew has another request.
I have another job for you. An associate of mine, Bruta, works with me in the forced labor trade.
You mean the slave trade?
I prefer freedom challenged.
Okay, that was pretty funny.
Bruta pays me handsomely to help him free lurkers and get them safely out of the city. Oh, it lifts my spirit to help those in need. And I need his money.
Lurkers? We don't like lurkers.
For this one, the idea is to find these 3 Crimson Guard vehicles with gauges on their backs that are holding lurkers, blow them up by shooting them. Shooting while driving is a thing in this game, by the way, and bring each to the bazaar before going to the next one. Lurkers are basically the enemy faction in the first game, by the way. Hence Dexter's distaste for them. Same strategy applies as for any other driving level in the game. Keep changing attitude and hope the guards will miss. Yeah, we're friends with this lurker now. I don't know what relevance it has to the story, but whatever. Back to what matters. Crew now wants us to go drain the sewers. I'm sure that won't have any consequences for the city's civilian population. Well, it's not like any of these people give a shit. We're supposed to find a statue there and bring back a ruby key from it. So back to the sewers, I guess. It's a hoverboard mission, and these are usually fun. This one specifically feels really bare bones. It's an obstacle course, but it's really easy and kind of drags for too long. We go through a tunnel, drain the water a bit, go back for the tunnel, drain the water again. The obstacles are all really easy to dodge and there are no enemies anywhere. It's not like it's bad, it's just kind of weird to get such a lenient mission at this point in the game when everything seems to be ramping up. Well, I'll take the break. My boy Dexter saves the day again and back up we go. Oh my god, the mysterious mechanic behind the curtain was actually Kira the whole time. Wow, we can join a racing team and start working our way through the ranks. There are a total of 3 races and finishing the last one will give us access to the palace. For now we can try the class 3 race. I kinda like the racing in this game actually. Definitely feels better than driving around the city. Mostly because the vehicles here don't feel like they're made of paper mache. It's all about memorizing the track layout so we don't hit the walls too much. I had the most trouble with the first race out of the 3, mostly because I was still getting used to the handling. The other racers can easily hit us off course too, so that's another thing to keep in mind. The glowing purple wharves grants us a turbo boost we can use whenever we want, and they're best saved for straight sections of the track. Again, I think the racing is fun, but 5 laps feels like it's a bit much. 3 would have been enough. This juggle physics shows up to say she's not like her father, blah blah. Also the guards are looking for JAK, which I thought was the case since the game started, but okay. The scene is probably just here so little Timmy can self-insert as JAK having 2 hot girls with big boobies fighting over him, which is fine by me.
I bet you'd love to pin some medals on her chest, huh?
Oh, how could I ever have this like Dexter? This game is fucking base, dude. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Next we're hunting a few metalheads in the forest and yet another filler mission. This is my single proudest achievement in this game. Watch this. If you look closely, you'll notice I suck at the game and lose basically all my health in a few seconds. At this point I figured it was over. I thought of letting JAK die and starting over, but I just kept going. And so I, god gamer that I am, beat metalhead after metalhead, and they're practically invisible in this mission by the way, and I ended up beating the mission damageless. Yes, I know, save the applause. This might be a good time to point out how stingy this game is with health drops. They're supposed to come out of crates, but it feels like the developers straight up forgot to place them in a few levels. Crate drops are predetermined and most of the time they're ammo. It can be really frustrating when you're halfway through a level with no checkpoints and every time you find a crate it just contains a bunch of ammunition you don't need. Checkpoints are also pretty stupid, but we'll talk more about them later. Doing this mission with no health was actually pretty cool. The dark jungle, invisible enemies that could kill me in an instant, felt like Predator or something. Time for the worst fucking mission in the game by far. So when we rescued the lurkers, the big one promised us a prize. We have to go pick it up in this hut in the water slums. As soon as we make it, every Crimson Guard in the city shows up to try to kill us for some reason. We just have to make it out of the slums, but it's a lot easier said than done. Try fighting, die. Try running, die. Try jumping on the water. There's a robot here that shoots as if we so much as think about it. Hoverboarding is the only way I found to work, and even then, we have to be absolutely perfect. Memorize the route, including every little bit of garbage collision. Nail every jump and not lose a second. There are so many of these guys and they're so accurate. There's no cover and they never stop coming. 4 hits and we're dead. No health pickups naturally. I could complain that there's no checkpoint, but the level is actually extremely short once you make it. This took me like 20 minutes, I think. I say I think because I accidentally stopped recording in the middle of it while raging. Thankfully I noticed before I eventually succeeded. I have around 15 minutes worth of footage of me attempting this, and my successful attempt was 1 minute 44. I think the worst thing about it is how much getting hit slows JAK down on the hoverboard. Fucking terrible mission. I defended this game's difficulty before, and I'll keep defending it, but this one particular mission is just straight up garbage. And moving on from that, we have yet another mission that made me rage. This one was entirely my fault though. For this one, our objective is to blow up eco wells at the strip mine by hoverboarding up the ramps conveniently placed next to each of them and throwing bombs inside. There are 6 wells and we have 2 minutes. I expected a prompt for throwing the bomb to show up if I went high enough, but it turns out we're just supposed to mash X while in the air. That was the first hurdle. With that figured out, the issue remains that the time limit is very strict, especially considering these low-S platforms we have to ride to get to one of the wells. You know, I had a lot of time to think and observe while riding these, and I happened to notice this giant crane. Surely it can't be. Well, I decided to try it out after beating the mission with a single fucking second left on the counter, and yup. We could have just gone up the crane, grinded on the rails, and dropped right next to the well, ignoring the platforms entirely. Man, do I feel stupid. Okay, well, more filler missions. Core wants us to blow up a tanker that's supposed to pick up a shipment of eco from the drill platform. It's everybody's favorite, a fucking turret mission. I don't think these were that common on the PS2, but on the PS3 and Xbox 360 it felt like every single goddamn game had to have a bunch of these, and I never got the appeal. I heard this mission was a nightmare on hard, but I'm a little bitch baby boy and I'm playing on normal like a girl. Here it's pretty easy and feels like a bit of a waste of time. It's kind of annoying how the guards with the jetpacks keep flying under the rails where we can't shoot them. Isn't it kind of fucked that these guys are like actual people in universe? Bjorn, or whatever his name is from the Resistance, was even in the guard and Ashlyn is in active duty, and we just blow up the guards into pieces like it's nothing. T rating, by the way. I guess you can get away with anything as long as there's no blood. Anyway, this level is not terribly interesting as I said before, unless you're playing autism mode, and I'm not really qualified to comment on that. Before we move on, the old lady's monkey throws some plot our way. We have to open up the tomb of the city's founder and get a super powerful eco stone before Baron Praxis can get his hands on it. To do that, we need 3 pieces of a seal. The first piece was the prize we got from that terrible mission at the water slums. The second we can go get at the dig site right now. This is a good mission. It's a lot easier than the first dig site mission, mostly owing to the fact that those fucking grenade launcher guards aren't here. Instead, the place is infested with metalheads, but they're a lot easier to deal with. All that is not to say that this is easy. I think it's well balanced if anything. Requires attention, requires planning, will probably cost a new player a decent number of deaths. The layout is interesting, multi-layered, and there are multiple routes through it. Combat requires intelligent use of the guns depending on enemy types and the terrain, and the platforming mixes in the hoverboard, so it has all the makings of a good JAK 2 level. The objective is to find all 5 of these switches on the ground and use them to raise a platform that allows us to go deeper into the cave. The most annoying part of the level is making it across this gap by using the bar that's hanging from a balloon. By the time I made it past this, I was finally comfortable with this mechanic and I don't mind it much anymore. There's an extra layer of timing added by the fact that the bar is swinging as the balloon moves. I was pleasantly surprised by the fact that for the first jump there's a platform below that keeps us from jumping headfirst into the lava when we inevitably miss it. 2 hours and 5 switches later and we made it past that room. Now I have to beat a fairly entertaining obstacle course that includes basic platforming, bar swinging, and hoverboarding. And the dumbest fucking gap I've seen since that bonus level I bitched about in my Crash Wrath of Cortex review you should see later. At the very top of this room is a totem pole with a seal piece.
Wait a minute! I think this time you should go get the thing.
Yeah, you go get it, JAK. Dexter's too good for this shit. One more filler mission before we can finally move on. It's another driving mission and it's really hard. I had to destroy 5 Crimson Guard gunships, and naturally as soon as we touch the first one, a billion guards spawn and will follow us to the depths of hell, ramming us, shooting at us, and just being very rude all around. Anyway, I eventually learned that the way to effectively beat the driving missions is to not be afraid to change vehicles as necessary. The ridiculous amounts of cars in Haven City, despite the fact that it's supposed to be a poverty-stricken shithole, means that there's always plenty of options. JAK can jump really far in pursuit of fresh innocent civilians to terrorize, and learning to use this in my favor to quickly change vehicles is what made me eventually learn to enjoy these missions. Really, up to this point I was sure I would absolutely despise these all the way through and would end up wasting 10 minutes of this video bitching about the driving levels. But in the end, and back to my point about the difficulty forcing me to adapt and appreciate the game's depth, I learned to enjoy them. They're not my favorite part of the game by a long shot, but I really ended up not minding them by the end. Finally managing to beat this mission felt great. In order to get the last piece of the seal, we now have to beat a mini game for the hag with the monkey. If you've been following my channel, you might know I'm not exactly a fan of mini games. Well, I like this one. It's kind of like a rhythm game. Press the buttons that appear on screen. The catch is that multiple show up at once and there's no right timing to hit them. Hitting the same button multiple times gives us bonus points. The idea is to quickly determine how many of each button are on screen at any given time and tap the exact number of times. It's easy but surprisingly fun. With a complete seal in hand, we can now go back to the mountain temple and open up a new passage. A little rail grinding later and we reach an area filled with mechanisms that JAK and Dexter activate with all the garbage we took from the temple like 5 hours ago. That causes a laser beam to shoot out of a mirror tower and destroy a statue in the city center, killing yet another random innocent civilian in the process, something that naturally no one in the Resistance gives a shit about. Let's go check it out.
You actually found Mars' tomb.
Great. Now what? We send this poor kid into a meat grinder?
That's interesting coming from the guy who's easily killed dozens of civilians at this point without ever even stopping to acknowledge it, but I guess it's good to see that there's a line.
This is the day I've long awaited, to finally hold the fabled precursor stone in my hands.
Gee, I wonder if this guy's gonna betray us.
The tests of manhood are sure to be fraught with peril, and Mars Air must face them alone.
No. This child is too young to face the tests.
What? No! Do something, JAK!
JAK, remember the shore to be filled to the brim with painful death pot?
Great tree limbs! He's going to face the tests.
No, he's gone to his death.
Alright, now we have to pass the tests of manhood, and in order to appease the people who bitch about my language in the comments, I'll just point out the extremely problematic nature of his name. This is an inclusive channel, and here we believe women can have hoods too. Well, the tests of people kindhood are 2 fairly long gauntlets consisting of platforming, combat, and puzzle solving. They're both accessible from this huge flooded central room. Once both are done, we can go deeper into the tomb. The right path starts with a memory game where we have to hit the right bugs to open the door, and then continues with a series of electrified water poles that kept damaging me because I'm retarded and took ages to think of using the hoverboard to cross them. We can't use guns here, by the way, but there are barely any common encounters, just the occasional spider that's nowhere close to being a real threat, so I'm not even sure why they put this gimmick here. The path also includes this less interesting version of the colored platform gimmick from the first game, where all platforms of the same color as the one you step on fall down. Here they just signal the exact platforms they have to jump on. As I mentioned, I kept dying here mostly due to not knowing what to do with the electrified water, and every time we die in a test, we're brought back to the first room with the bugs. This might be a good time to talk about this. JAK 2 has a really big problem with checkpoints. The game is infamous for this. Levels that feel like they should have 3 checkpoints often don't have a single one. This mission specifically took me 8 minutes to beat once I got everything right. Not a single checkpoint. And it's weird because not every level is like this. Feels kind of random to be honest. In that mission I just praised at the dig site, the game actually saved the pressed switches on death. Sometimes it just feel like you're at the obvious point where there should be a checkpoint, then you die only to realize you've been sent back to the 1200s and the Mongolians are about to raid your village. Anyway, the final room for the first test is a game of concentration. Not all that exciting, but sure. A door opens that brings us back to the central room and a light beam shines at the giant door at the end of the corridor. The second test is a little more interesting. It's a lot more focused on traditional traditional platforming with actual platforms. The first objective here is to climb to the top of this huge room, finding switches that change the central platforms to allow access to more areas. I'm a master at the swing bars now, game. Just give up already. Eventually a new passage will appear at the bottom floor. A cutscene will play here where Dexter, in a stroke of genius, dislodges a giant boulder and gets separated from Jak. We now get to play as him for the first time ever. I mean, it's a chase sequence, which is not my favorite thing in the world, but it almost feels like playing Crash Bandicoot. Dexter feels a lot faster, snappier, and more responsive than Jak. Eventually the boulder gives way to a giant spider, but nothing really changes mechanically at least. This fixed camera section where we have to climb a tower while jumping on spider webs is pretty shit. I hate it when they change the camera angle in this game. It's really confusing. At least there's a checkpoint right here. See what I meant by the game being really inconsistent when it comes to these? Dexter's section is over as soon as it starts, and now we have to do some more platforming before finding the button that activates the second light beam and opens the door. Dexter is waiting for us by the newly opened doorway.
Welcome, young warrior. Many eons have passed since our hope burned so brightly. Today you have proven yourself worthy to receive Ma's legacy.
Glad to see the terrible ancient statue voice from the first game is doing well. He talks about how the Metalheads and the Precursors waged war in the past, and how the tomb houses the Precursor Stone, an ancient relic of poorly explained power. Of course we can't just walk up to it and grab it, as Baron Praxis somehow made it here with another flying mech. Yeah, boss time. It's pretty good again. Of course I only figured out what I was supposed to do because the developers had Dexter spell it out for me. Not the most elegant solution. Basically, each of the 3 phases consists of the Baron throwing a few robots at us, which we have to kill, and then a few bombs we can punch in his direction to damage him. Starting with the second phase, he'll also try to shoot at us with his machine guns, and we'll have to take cover behind the pillars. They will be destroyed after a few volleys, however. In order to maximize the amount of bombs we can throw at him for each cycle, I found that it's best to stand next to the edges of the arena so we don't have to walk back after kicking all the bombs on one side. When we reach the third phase, Praxis will manage to grab the stone and use its power to reenact engines fired from Crash 2 and destroy parts of the platform we're in with a green light. There are no robots for this phase, but the Baron will fly around in the middle of the room, so hitting him with the bombs is a little harder. To no one's surprise, the Baron escapes with the stone. He did mention our little freedom fighter friends got their asses handed to them by the guards, so let's go talk to Frank to see if he knows what happened to them. Turns out he gave the Baron information after he threatened to kill Ashlyn. Luckily the Baron is a good, magnanimous guy, unlike the shitty resistance, and doesn't go around murdering people without remorse. He's still holding everyone prisoner, likely so that they can all have a fair trial, and we have to go get him out. This mission takes place where Jak was being held in the beginning of the game, and yeah, it's a sign of things to come. The difficulty really picks up now.
Next time, can I kill a civvy? Something interesting doesn't happen soon, I'm gonna shoot you.
That was hilariously edgy. I guess the game is finally trying to justify Jak murdering all of those guards in cold blood while not giving a single shit. But come on. For the entire game so far, the small bits of dialogue we got from the guards were humanizing if anything. And now, like 10 hours in, you hit me with, we should kill some children to use their skulls as mugs for when we drink the blood of those puppies. It's a little too over the top for me to take seriously. I think it's kind of funny. First things first, guards now come in yellow armor, and from what I can tell, this just means they can take twice as much damage before they die. For the first room, we had to hit 5 glowing red buttons on the ground, while being absolutely pelted from all directions by a seemingly infinite amount of guards. Seriously, this looks like a fucking clown car. Trying to jump over the gaps between the main path and the buttons while being shot at is basically a guaranteed death. I don't know if it was a coincidence or what, but the guards felt like they stopped spawning once I entered the room, so that's a relief. Look at all the ammunition drops from all the dead guards. Man, I sure hope I don't have to repeat this a million times. The rest of the level is mostly trying to avoid triggering these turrets while avoiding fire from enemies out of reach. So basically rushing through and hoping for the best. Then I fell at this piece of shit retarded fucking hole I didn't see right next to the end of the level. Well, surely there must have been a checkpoint after that tube with the electricity. It'll be fine. Hey, this is the room where Jak was strapped to a table for 2 years. Gee Billy, how come your mother lets you have 2 Samuses? No explanation yet, but I'll take a wild guess and say time travel shenanigans. The yellow guards are all around the city now, and we have 3 missions to choose from again. First we'll do the second class race. It's very similar to the first one, but Jack gets all pissy at this asshole who's like the racing champion or something, because Kira says he's a good racer, and starts yapping about how much of an edgelord Jack is now. So Dexter takes the wheel instead. Not much to add, it's fine.
Yeah, we showed those Class 2 losers a thing or two, huh?
I saw. You drifted a little high in the turns a few times, but you hung in there. I'm proud of you, Dax.
Okay, Jack is an asshole and Dexter is legitimately a good friend. I can sit back and enjoy the edge without thinking too much about it, but it's incredible just how unlikable they managed to make the main character of this game. Alright, we have to escort these 3 idiots through the sewers so they can look for something else Crew wants that was supposed to be hidden in the statue we found earlier. Walk for a bit, everybody stops, metalheads come crawling down the walls and we shoot them. Walk, wait for the idiots, repeat. A lot. Then we get to a large open room and a ridiculous amount of metalheads appear and we get absolutely destroyed. Well, there's no way they wouldn't put a checkpoint after that boring slog of a mission, right?
Quiet, here comes Pretty Boy.
Oh well, the good thing about recording audio separate from gameplay footage is I can pretend I'm not raging, thus preserving my good reputation as the suave, calm and collected guy everyone on the internet knows me for. Oh, no health pickups by the way, because fuck you. And all of that was so these fine gentlemen could blow up the priceless ancient statue for a shiny rock that was inside it. Jack is a scholar and an appreciator of ancient art, so he's understandably upset. We're rewarded with a new gun that's very powerful, but that basically never gets any use because it feels like the developers forgot to program crates that drop ammunition for it. Seriously, I feel like after I used up all of it once, it took me until the end of the game to get like 7 rounds back. It's pretty cool though. Now I have to blow up these walker robots around the city, but they soak up so much damage it feels like I'm doing something wrong. This is where I wasted all my Peacemaker ammo, by the way. It wasn't enough. We can move on now. Crew wants us to throw the first class race because he bet on Arrow, the asshole from the Crimson Guard. Jack obviously refuses. The asshole happens to be overhearing the conversation and challenges Jack to a street race. This is another infamous mission from what I can tell, but I didn't find it all that bad. The vehicle we use here doesn't blow up if it touches a pebble at the wrong angle like the ones you usually have access to when driving around the city, and the AI is pretty lenient. It's possible to hit something, waste a few seconds and still catch up to Arrow. You have to go through every Superman 64 ring or we lose, and sometimes it's hard to tell exactly where we have to go in advance, so a new player is likely to have to reset this one a few times in order to get a feeling for the route. There are a few very tight corners and it's easy to accidentally run over a civilian and be thrown off course, but overall the vehicle controls pretty well. Samus calls and asks us to retrieve something from his old hut in Deadtown. Once we get there, we're introduced to yet another new mechanic, Mech Suit. I don't think anyone ever explains why this thing is here, but whatever.
Break the door!
That's a wall. The exact opposite of a door, in fact. This game is lucky because I just played through Wrath of Cortex and there's no way this mech suit could suck nearly as much as the one from that game. It's not great though. I eventually came to enjoy most mechanics in this game so far. Not this one. It's not terrible, but I don't think it adds much. What I liked about all the other gimmicks is how they sort of complement each other. The mech suit is just a mech suit. It's slow, clunky, and useless in combat. It's only used to slowly get rid of obstacles that only it can deal with. It has no range, so when we get to enemies that shoot from afar, we have to slowly and awkwardly find an open space to get out of it, as Jack will refuse to do so if the suit is too close to a wall, and deal with them with our base moveset. Oh, I wonder if there's going to be an ambush here. No? Okay, good. Never mind, it's not even part of the level. So this huge opening with a light bulb right in the middle that screens go through me, well, it leads to an unused part of the level for this mission, and you can't go back unless you go all the way back to the starting area. Why can't I look up while controlling the mech? Why'd you make the camera purposefully shit for this specific game mode? Exposition time.
Good work, Jack. And Dexter, I suppose. Before we came through the rift long ago, I was nurturing that life seed from the great tree. It seems the metalheads are attracted to its power. Take the seed to Onin now. She will prepare it for Samus.
You mean you?
No, the other me, Daxter. My younger self needs the seed's power to become sagely.
Yeah, so now we have to take the seed to Onin so she can throw some magic powder on it. Then we take it to the forest so Samus can meditate on it and become the sage he's supposed to be in the first game or something. Man, this place looks great. There's so much doom and gloom in this game that I forgot it could be as colorful and pretty as the first one. Okay, so we have to protect him from the guards as he does his thing. It's decently challenging. The flying ones are especially annoying, as there's no way to manually aim up. You just have to jump and hope for the best, and even then, they take multiple hits to kill.
The life seed gave me a terrible vision. The Baron is planning to destroy the Precursor Stone. He aims to crack it open somehow. If he does this, the energy released will be beyond comprehension. It will destroy the world and more, ending all life.
So the Precursor Stone is basically a nuke, and the Baron wants to trigger it for some reason, presumably to get rid of the metalheads. Sounds reasonable, I don't see a problem. Another W for the good Baron, another L for those melee resistance hippies. Then we go through another filler mission to rescue a few lurkers, and another filler mission at the strip mine that's basically just going through the path we already went through when doing the Eco Wow mission, but with an extra section slapped on top of it and no time limit. It's just a linear hoverboard obstacle course, it's fine.
Think, what will the Baron's next move be?
Well, if I had the Precursor Stone with all that power, I'd use it to build a giant palace. A palace with the biggest harem of women the world has ever known. And there'd be a swimming pool filled to the brim with chocolate. Slightly minty. Yeah, a massive pool of gooey chocolate. Then the girls and I would jump in together.
Dexter's based. Okay, time to blow up the drill platform. Man, how many times did I say blow up so far? This game is basically a terrorism simulator. This mission uses the mech suit again, but overall I think it's pretty good. It's more platforming than block dragging, so that puts it above the first mech suit mission. And the mech suit does get this hover ability that makes it decently good at crossing gaps. But what is actually fun about this mission is the part after we ditch the suit. Destroying the control room will start a self-destruction countdown and we'll have to quickly leave the area. Miraculously, there's a checkpoint before this. The level would have been absolutely infuriating if we had to redo the whole mech section every time. There isn't much time, we have to use the hoverboard as much as we can in order to make it, and that's easier said than done. So it comes down to learning when and where to use it. And with that, we can finally go beat Arrow in the first class race. We're entering the end game now. The race is, again, not much different from before. Arrow is in fact here, and we can see where he is in the mini-map, but I don't see how he's any different from the other AI racers. In fact, I'm pretty sure he fell down a hole and died somewhere along the way. Oh well. As a reminder, the winner of the first class race gets to tour the castle. Obviously this means they just straight up give us a key to the front door, no questions asked.
And who is this worthy opponent? In my world, good men are either bought or broken. So which is it going to be?
Surprise.
What?
How dare you betray the good Baron like that, Jak? You broke his heart, you monster. Oh look, apparently Arrow wasn't dead after all. Never mind. Well, let's take our new key and enter the palace. Ashlyn's here and she's convinced Praxis can end the metalheads with the Precursor Stone. She didn't think to question what would happen if he used it, so when Jak goes, "Precursor Stone bad," she calls the annoying scientist guy to confirm it and is instantly convinced. Man, they really spared no expenses when it came to modeling her butt, did they? She gives us another key card that gives us access to a new area, the weapons factory. But for now, we have to leave the palace. It's another pretty good linear mission that's mostly traditional platforming with a little combat mixed in. Hey, the palace is actually rotating and we can see the city below through the windows. Cool. It doesn't do anything new, but I like these more traditional one-off levels. The weapons factory is a fairly long and difficult level, featuring a lot of combat and a lot of platforming again. Rooms are filled with enemies and ambushes are common, so not paying attention is likely to result in an untimely death. The number one gimmick here are the conveyor belts that can be made to change direction with a shot to one of these giant red buttons that are usually near them. Shooting these is not always as simple as it should be, though. The auto aim in Jak 2 is usually decently reliable, but here it doesn't work very well half the time. Positioning is extremely important with all the guards attacking from all directions, and the conveyor belts add an extra layer to that. A new enemy is introduced here, these totally not droidicas from Star Wars. They roll around and are only vulnerable after getting blasted a few times. I find the machine gun to be the best at dealing with them, but they eat a lot of bullets. Guards can fire fire at us from the upper floor where we can't reach them in this large room with the acid pool, and that's pretty annoying. I had a few really embarrassing deaths thanks to this very basic platforming challenge involving rotating blades over a conveyor belt, but I won't dwell on it. Surprisingly, there's a checkpoint in this level, right at the end of the acid pool room. Thank God. The rolling guys can get really annoying if we're left in an open room with nowhere to retreat to, but if we can find a corner and shoot away as they come, they're pretty easy to deal with. After destroying 3 waves of them in this blue room, the large door will open, revealing an elevator, and the mission is over. Yeah, we'll have to fight Crew now. He's in on the Baron's plan to crack open the precursor stone in an attempt to destroy the Metalhead nest, and will try to stop us from destroying the bomb that we use to do so. The fight starts with him flying away and summoning a bunch of tiny green holographic versions of himself. Destroy all of them and he'll come down, and is this it? Am I the only one who expected him to be a lot larger than this? I mean, from all the cutscenes I assumed he was absolutely huge. This goes to show the power of framing, I guess. Anyway, we have to shoot him until he flies away again, while taking cover to avoid his attacks. The music reminds me a lot of Crash Bandicoot. All the music in the original Crash games in the JAK trilogy was made by the same composer, Josh Mansell, so that makes sense, but that includes the original Jak and Daxter, and I don't feel it as much in that game. In fact, if you recall, I found the music there to be really forgettable. Overall, I like it better here, but it still never really takes the center stage. This is one of the few places where I really noticed it. Nothing changes for the other phases besides there being more green crews to kill. It's easily the least interesting boss fight so far. Fatso drops the Heart of Mar, which Kira needs to open a portal back to the past as we defeat him. Then Ashlyn shows up and rescues Jak and Daxter as the weapons factory explodes. Daxter's little girlfriend calls and tells his crew hit something in the arcade machine, and so we go check that out. For some reason we need to beat the game to get it. It's whack-a-mole, but each face button represents a hole. It's kind of fun, actually, as much as whack-a-mole can be. Our prize is a time map, the second item Kira needed for the portal.
You know, Sugar Plum, if any real metalheads came to town, I'd bunk them just like I did in the game.
And then everybody died. Anyway, it turns out Cruz sent Sig on a mission before he left for the weapons factory, and we have to go look for him. As we leave the saloon, Vin, the annoying scientist, calls us, freaking out about the shield that kept the metalheads out being deactivated. Surely enough, the city is now full of metalheads hunting down the civilians. We need to go to the underport to look for Sig. As the name implies, it's under the port. There's an elevator that can take us there. As the doors open, we can see what horror awaits us. Yeah, the mech suit again. This time, underwater. What could possibly go wrong? Well, nobody thought of adding oxygen tanks to the suit, so we have to be constantly on the lookout for bubbles. Stay away from them for too long and we drown, you know how this goes. I doubt there's anyone watching this who's never played a game with underwater oxygen mechanics. Other than my mom. Hi mom. The biggest problem here are the jellyfish metalheads that show up. As I mentioned before, the mech suit is terrible for combat. It can punch directly in front of it. The jellyfish usually come from above. Above and directly in front are different directions, by the way. Yeah, my strategy is to rush through this level as fast as possible and hope for the best. Beeline for the bubbles and keep moving. Man, the turn radius on this thing is fucking atrocious. Here's a tip when you're developing a 3D platformer. Don't make your character's turn radius a fucking mile long. That shit sucked in Mario 64 and it certainly sucks here. I guess this place looks cool at least. Eventually we reach a room where the water drains and we can finally ditch the suit. We find Sig a little further ahead. He explains the ruby key we got from the statue in the series opened the passage that allowed the metalheads to pour into the city. That was Crew's plan all along. Sig's too stupid to solve basic ass Zelda block puzzles, so we have to help him get out. I say they're basic ass Zelda puzzles, but there's one key innovation here that makes them a lot better. We can shoot the blocks instead of slowly pushing them, and they'll also blow up after a while, so we actually have to be fast. There's some skill expression involved, it's a good idea. Of course I didn't know this right away, I just punched them, but even that is better than Zelda block pushing. After the first puzzle room, a giant centipede metalhead breaks through a wall and starts chasing us. I'm neither the biggest lover nor the biggest hater of chase sequences, but this one sucks absolute dick for one simple reason: the camera. For some fucking reason it is bound to the centipede. We can easily outrun it, but worse than that, it can completely fuck with our sense of distance because for the entire game it was set up at the same spot. For over 10 hours now we've been subconsciously getting used to certain visual cues that help us calculate jump distances. This is true for any game, and now out of nowhere all of that gets thrown off the window. And why? because someone at Naughty Dog thought it would look cool and cinematic to have the camera follow the big monster that's chasing us. It's not an interesting challenge, it's just bullshit. Feels extremely awkward. Well, anyway, the centipede breaks a bridge and falls into the abyss below. Alright then, more block puzzles.
Great, no time to celebrate. Great, here comes that bad boy again.
Oh shit.
Run!
Oh fuck. Well, there must have been a checkpoint after the first chase sequence, right? There's no way they would have. Really? Really? God fucking damn it. Maybe if I die again they'll send me back to Crash 1 and then at least I'll be able to play a better fucking game.
You gotta fix. Gone with the wind.
No idea how that worked. Now we break a few grates with a body slam I didn't even remember existed anymore. Walk over this suspiciously cracked bridge and... So he's gonna reenact the Balrog scene from Lord of the Rings, isn't he? Well, anyway, as we get back to the surface, Kira asks us to go meet her at the stadium. At this point, the city is a war zone. The Crimson Guard is fighting the metalheads on the street, trying to defend the civilians. There are fires and explosions all around. It's really cool to see the scenery change according to the point we're at in the story. It's not much, but it's appreciated. Really helps sell the idea that this is the climax. Kira says she still needs the ring that served as the frame of the portal before they can travel back to the past. And according to Samus, it's in the metalhead nest. So I guess that's where we'll have to go. How unexpected. We'll take Kira's device there with a balloon, but as we prepare for takeoff, guess what? Metalheads attack, blah blah, escort mission, blah blah. We then get a call from Vin, the annoying scientist. He sounds like he's dying and tells us to come to a construction site. Praxis is there, and so is Core, but it looks off.
We've met before, remember? Everything's going exactly as planned.
Jak! It's the metalhead leader!
Now you see! Without the shield wall disrupting my powers inside the city, I am my full potential now. So for the last time, give me the Precursor Stone!
If the city must die, then we all die!
I will find that stone if I have to crush this city one brick at a time!
You are the supreme weapon, Jak, and I made you. Still, any leader worth his salt always has his backup plan. Remember, the first rule in making a bomb is to always make two.
Ha, told you the Baron was a good guy, 100% vindicated. His melee resistance hippies can't stop losing. And Dexter saves the day again. Now let's go deal with Core at the Metalhead Nest. We can take a transport there from the port. The place reminds me of Misty Island from the first game. You know, spikes, dark cliffs. At first all we have to do is get to a corner and activate a mechanism that causes a platform to rise up, allowing us to get to some ruins. I guess the developers finally remembered that they created health packs for this game. There's a giant gun here.
Before the metalheads overwhelm us. You should just go through the rift back to your own time, Jak, and get away from this horrible place.
I see your point. Come on, Jak.
This place is worth fighting for.
Excuse me? Jak's been doing nothing but murdering everyone in his past since he got here. It sure doesn't look like he's particularly fond of this world. Come on, Naughty Dog, now you want me to believe Jak is this selfless hero when you've portrayed him as a complete asshole for the entire game. I mean, I get that you didn't want to make him a generic goody two-shoes, but I'm sorry, I just don't buy it at this point. This just comes out of nowhere. There was no character growth, there was no point in the story at which Jak seemed to be learning to love this place. You just throw this line at me at the 11th hour and expect me to believe Jak is this selfless altruist? He was just mowing down random civilians a few hours ago. Okay, that might be partially my fault, Well, anyway, Jak uses the precursor stone to power up the giant gun and punch a hole through the outer layer of the nest. This is the final mission. It comes down to a confusing sprint to the nest while trying to avoid the most annoying enemies in the game. A few new metalheads are introduced in this area, like the machine gun spiders that take like 4 shotgun shots to the face before they die, and these absolutely huge guys that shoot out lightning and I'm not even sure can be killed. But the worst are the small ones that jump around all over the place. They're fast too. It's hard to hit them, and even if we manage to, they feel like they just respawn infinitely. The best way to deal with them is to keep moving, but they actually do quite a good job of keeping up with us, and they're even harder to dodge when they come from off camera, as you can imagine. The place looks cool and the difficulty feels appropriate for the grand finale, but fuck if these little pieces of shit didn't piss me off. They did remember to place a few health packs this time around, so that's nice. I can't really call the level unfair. What the fuck happened here? Eventually we make it to the nest proper and it looks really alien and cool. A little further ahead we'll find what we were looking for.
Finally, you've decided to join us, and you brought the precursor stone. Good. The boy will now play his final part.
Not this time.
Oh, but this child is such a part of this. Such a part of you. Don't you recognize him? The boy is you.
Called it.
Your younger self, however, still has the pure gift. He alone can awaken the stone and the precursor entity which sleeps inside.
Okay, Stone is alive, Jak's from the future, Core's an asshole, got it. Let's beat his ass. Oh hey, Dark Jak, forgot you existed. Won't be using this. I like the music, reminds me of Crash again. For the first 2 phases, Core is hanging from the ceiling in the middle of the room and constantly shits out eggs that hatch into small metal heads. There's no point in killing all of them, just enough so they won't interrupt us as we're firing away at Core, who's always vulnerable. He'll sometimes shoot out a laser with a tiny hitbox that won't damage us as long as we're moving. Seriously, it looks a lot scarier than it is. Watch this animation. Feels like it's gonna tear a hole straight through the earth. For the 3rd phase, Core breaks free from the ceiling and starts making laps around the arena. Things don't change all that much, except we need to be constantly on the move, or he'll catch up to us and use a melee attack. He's actually really fast. I found that doing roll jumps was the best way to avoid him. The laser attack is still every bit as worthless as before, but now he has a shockwave attack that we'll have to jump over. I try to shoot him when I'm at the opposite side of the hole in the middle, but he doesn't just stand there for long, and we'll close the distance pretty fast. I will say it's quite intense. I didn't find it particularly difficult, but it is very engaging. Not paying attention will get you killed most likely. It's a great way to end the game. Definitely my favorite final boss out of any Naughty Dog game I've played so far. Oh shit, no, a 2nd phase, you gotta be... Oh, okay. False alarm. Modern From Software really made me paranoid.
Oh man, a precursor.
It is finished. Our ancient enemy is no more.
Okay, I still don't get why the precursors sound like they're trying to speak while burping. This is where the whole time travel thing comes full circle. Young Jak and Les ultra old Samus have to be sent back to the past for everything that took place to make sense. This means Jak and the gang from the first game will remain stuck in the future.
It's perfect, Kira. This is the very machine we found, or will find later.
What? I just built this. After seeing the first one, I mean. It's based on what I remember from before.
Honey, the more you think about it, the more it hurts the head.
Yeah, Dexter's right, just let it go. Let's not try to make sense of this. At least these writers are self-aware. Ashlyn is now leader of the city, obviously, and Bob is commander of the Crimson Guard. Everyone is commemorating, and Sig is now Sig the White, and he comes back to us now, long after the turn of the tide. Fireworks, credits roll. What did I think of it? I like it, a whole lot more than I expected to. When I got out of that prison at the beginning and saw what looked like a GTA clone, I thought I was going to hate this game, but it really won me over. As I've been getting older, I started to understand just how fleeting youth really is, and I started to think about how difficult it must be to market towards children. I think we've all been through that phase where we're like, imagine stupid thing for babies that I like, but it's greedy and dark and has swear words and violence and titties. It would be so cool, why don't they just do it? It would sell millions, I must be a genius, I should create a DeviantArt account. JAK 2 feels like it was made for people going through that exact phase, but the thing is, that phase usually doesn't last much. A year, maybe two, a little more if you're a spurg, but the point is I think I know why companies don't usually try to appeal to this exact demographic. It just doesn't last. It's like trying to hit a bullseye, and I think this is what makes JAK 2 so special. It feels like it was made specifically for some 12-year-old boy who grew up playing 3D platformers and was just going through that phase in 2003. A little younger and his parents might have not overlooked that T rating. A little older and he might have found it cringy, rightfully so. But for that kid, at that moment, it was just right. And while I wasn't that kid, I can relate. I do derive some ironic enjoyment from this game. I won't lie and say I take it seriously at all. It's like Tails gets trolled. I do legitimately enjoy it, but you can't deny it's ridiculous. And the sincerity of it just adds to the charm. It's not a game that's amazingly fun the whole way through, and it's not all that replayable. There is a lot of frankly unnecessary padding with the huge amounts of driving around that are required. If I were to try to quantify it, I think there's ultimately little game here spread quite thin over quite a long playtime. That being said, the game still somehow manages to be consistently engaging, if not always enjoyable. I complained a lot about the different gameplay styles in Crash Warped, and I maintained that that game would have been much better if it had stuck to one genre. JAK 2 has so many different gameplay styles I struggle to even say which one is the main one, and yet, here, they're all entertaining in their own way. Other than the driving around from mission to mission, I never felt something to the effect of, God, I wish I was playing a different type of level. Even something like the mech suit is used sparingly enough not to become a problem. More importantly, I think different gameplay styles in JAK 2 feel very coherent. I said JAK 1 wasn't a very original game. I can't say the same about JAK 2, despite its clear influences. To put it simply, there isn't a single game out there that I know of, at least, that is like JAK 2. This is easily the least safe game Naughty Dog has ever made. You can argue it's chasing trends, but only superficially. In the end, all the influences somehow work together to create something wholly unique. I started playing the JAK series in search of a missing link between a series that I love and games that I hate, created by the same studio. I didn't find it in JAK 1, and when I started JAK 2, I thought I hit the jackpot. Turns out I hadn't. Now I walk away even more confused. JAK 1 was a game that lacked identity, that wasn't memorable enough. JAK 2, in contrast, is a game that's memorable if anything. Subscribe and do other things, K-Tinks, bye.